Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about perfect participle. But before I explain perfect participle, if you are new to my channel, please do not forget like and subscription to the channel. Well, basically a perfect participle is a type of participle that shows an action that occurs or happens before the action of the main verb in the main clause. What does it mean? Simply you can say that a perfect participle is nothing but just a type of participle which is used in a sentence to show an action which is completed before the main action in the principal clause or in the main clause. Don't worry if you are not getting the point now, you will understand it when I give examples, right? Basically, first you should know that a perfect participle has two forms, right? A perfect participle has how many forms? Two forms. The first one is perfect active participle and the second is perfect passive participle. Let's move on and explain first the active perfect participle. An active form is used when the perfect participle in the main class have the same doer or agent. In simple words, you can say when the subject of a perfect participle in the main class is the same, then the active structure is used. The active structure is having plus past participle plus object. As you know, past participle is the verb third form like completed, eaten, spoken, etc. Now let's move and observe some examples. Having studied the book, she felt well prepared for the exam. Here, having studied the book is basically a perfect participle. Why it is a perfect participle? Because it starts with having followed by past participle. As we have talked about it, past participle refers to the third form of verb, and then the book is the object of it. Basically, the actual sentence would be like this: after she studied the book, she felt well prepared for the exam, right? And it can be also written in this way: she, having studied the book, felt well prepared for the exam. But when you write it in this way, then perfect participle should be separated through commas. You can see in this sentence we have separated it, but when you write down in this manner, it is also correct, but you need to just separate it with commas, right? And we have also said that the active perfect participle must have one doer or an agent, right? So simply you look at this example, the doer is only she, right? She is only the doer. Why? It was she who studied the book and felt well prepared for the exam, right? The next example is having won the match, the team celebrated by pouring champagne on one another. Here, having won the match is basically a perfect participle because it begins with the having followed by past participle and then object, right? The action of winning match happened first and then the celebration, right? And then the doer of an action is the same, right? That is what? That is the team. Because the team won the match and after winning the match they celebrated. So it can also be said like this: the team, having won the match, celebrated by pouring champagne on one another. The next example is having finished her homework, she went to bed early. Here again, having finished her homework is a perfect participle and it indicates a completed action, right? The doer is the same, the structure is also the same as I have mentioned it. She, having finished her homework, went to bed early is also correct, but you have to set up the perfect participle with comma, right? And the next example is having traveled to many countries, he had a lot of stories to tell. Here, having traveled to many countries is basically a perfect participle, right? And it is in active form. If you want to say this sentence in this manner, so it will also be correct. He, having traveled to many countries, had a lot of stories to tell, right? Well, guys, this was active perfect participle, and it is the time to explain perfect passive participle. Basically, a passive form is used when a perfect participle and a main clause do not have the same doer or agent. Simply you can say that it is like a normal passive sentence. Is in normal passive sentence, a subject is not performing an action, but it is acted upon, right? The structure of perfect passive participle is having been plus past participle. And as you know, past participle is the third form of verb, right? For example, having been defeated by his friend, he felt devastated. Here, having been defeated by his friend is basically a perfect passive participle. Because the structure is having been followed by third form of verb, right? In this example, he did not defeat his friend, but he got defeated by his friend, right? So then he felt devastated. The perfect participle shows that the subject, he, basically does not perform an action, but an action is acted upon him, so in a result he felt devastated. And there are two persons, right? And one is his friend and the second is he himself. If you write down this sentence in this manner, he, having been defeated by his friend, felt devastated. Basically, you can also write this sentence like this, but make sure to set off it with commas, right? The next example is having been built over a century ago, the building is still in use today. Here, having been built over a century ago is basically a perfect passive participle, right? It talks about the building. So let me ask you a question: that was a building built by itself? The answer is no. So the building was built by people a century ago by people, and now it is still in use. This sentence can also be said like this: the building, having been built over a century ago, is still in use today, right? Having been supported by his friend, Smith got desired job. Here, having been supported by his friend is basically a perfect passive participle. Did Smith support himself? No, he was supported by his friend and then he achieved his desired job. You can also say like this: Smith, having been supported by his friend, got a desired job, right? The next example is not having been invited, he did not participate in the party. Here, not have been invited is basically a perfect passive participle. It means that he was not invited, so in a result, he did not participate in the party. He, not having been invited, did not participate in the party. You can also say this sentence in this manner. Well guys, now write down one sentence in active form and the next in passive form in the comment box. And along with that, do not forget like and subscription to my channel. And see you next time. Bye bye.